Right, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about Ron's poles. We're going to see how long and how thick and sturdy Ron's girth is on his poles. So Ron, obviously, for those who don't know, he's the proprietor owner of MLD. I don't know very much about MLD, but I hear they're quite good. Check the back catalogue. Okay, this is the first one. I'm not going to measure the heights of them because that's not so relevant. You can clearly see that this is a super mid pole. This one is no longer made. It was quite flexible, and I used it, I think, you know, well, maybe once, and then I didn't use it again because it was just a bit too flexible. But we'll start with Ron's flexible friend. Now, to be fair, trying to get a measurement on something like this, you've got to have this vertical and this horizontal. That was about 14 millimeters. So in principle, you'd think that 14 millimeters would be quite sturdy, but that 14 millimeters is a little bit wobbly. But that one's no longer made. Ron has beefed up his poles. This is the newer one. Now, his website shows that this is 12 millimeters to 14 millimeters on this top section here. So the top section here in theory should be the same as that, and it's pretty much dead on 14 sections. But this bottom section here, the website says 12, and it's difficult to say exactly. It may be 12. I'm coming out at 11.8. Yesterday I was coming out at 11.5. It's really difficult to, you know, to try and get it, you know, completely vertical, you know, and everything else. I mean, sometimes I'm getting 11.6, so I'm not completely convinced that this part down here is 12, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, the Omni pole is 11.5 to 12 millimeters on this bottom section, and then this top section here is 14. This pole, as you can see, is quite flexible. You know, it's a little bit shorter than that one, clearly. I'm not so concentrating on height, but even at this height, 12 millimeter, that was 14. That 14 millimeter was wobbling around like a wibbly wobbly thing, like Mr. and Mrs. Wibbly Wobbly at a wibbly wobbly tea party. Does anyone remember the Wibbly Wobblies and which comedy the Wibbly Wobblies were in? That will be an interesting one. So this is quite wibbly wobbly. I'm a bit of an MLD fanboy, as you very well know, but I hate to say it, but personally, you know, unless you're in a sheltered position, I just can't really recommend this. You know, I love my MLD stuff. I hate having to, you know, knock something, you know. I hate having to suggest that that Ron is a little bit flaccid in the, you know, in the wobbly pole section department. Mrs. Bow, Ms. Bow. I'm sure Ron can do better than that in the wibbly wobbly department. But I've used this. I think Ron's got a sense of humour, and I think he'll be okay. If I suddenly emigrate and run away, talking about Ron's flaccid, not very strong gift, wibbly wobbly, then you know what, if the channel suddenly disappears. Anyway, back to Ron's wobbly pole. If you've seen my video, which I did a few months ago, I was in the Lake District. I was on Dartmoor with the Cricket, and I think I may have used the Solar Mid XL, which is what this is designed for. Both of those, and theoretically also the Duo Mid XL. And when it's breezy, it just wobbles too much. And what I was doing, I was getting a trekking pole. If you really want to save weight, you know, then obviously, you know, go for this. But take a trekking pole, which you should have anyway, you know, and when it's needed, strap your trekking pole to it. And that will help a lot. I still am not sure I would trust it if it was really windy, you know, but you would get away with it if it's like quite breezy and you strap a trekking pole to it. And that may very well do some people. I'm trying to he's wheedling around it again. He's trying to flog MLD that he's just said is a piece of crap. he's an influencer. I'm just trying to point out it's not crap, but it does wibbly wobbly. So basically what I'm saying, you know, if you really want to save weight and you are happy working with a wibbly wobbly, then, you know, use your trekking pole and you will get away with it just about. Out of curiosity, we also have one of these. This is an Eastern, this isn't really for tents as such, but you could use this in a tarp. I don't know if Ron still sells these. This is about, it's about 8.8. It's so difficult to get it exact. It's about 8.8. Now, obviously, these are quite flexible as well. You can get it in 1, 2, 3 pieces, but they also do a 2-piece. And I've used these quite successfully with tarps. And if it does get too wobbly, again, if you've got another one, or if you've got a trekking pole, then, you know, just strap something next to it. That's just a by side of this conversation, really. What I do recommend from Ron is the Omni Pole XL. Now, there is still a little bit of a wibbly wobbliness to it. I haven't used this in a bigger shelter. I think you would be okay in a Cricket, Solo Mid, Duo Mid. I think you would be okay with this. I will maybe try it in the winter in the, you know, in the Duo Mid XL. But just, you know, looking at how wibbly wobbly, you know, this one is. This is the XL, and you know, there is, you know, there clearly is a little bit of wibbly wobbliness going on there. Let's see what Ron's girth is on this one. So that is about 13.8, which is about what the website which is about what the website says. And this top part here is 16. So either my measurements are out from this one, or the newer one has increased. But I think this is the new one anyway, but I'm not entirely sure. So you maybe just want to check on that one. And if Ron's watching, sorry Ron, then, you know, is that, am I measuring this one correctly? Because you'll know when you sent that. Or have you expanded the bottom on that one a little bit? The point is, this is 13.8 down here. And I do think that in a cricket, solo mid, XL, duo mid, you probably would be okay in that. I think you would be okay. The thing is with this is a Ruta Lacura pole. Let's measure. This is what they call the 600. I don't know what the 600 denotes, but this is the 600. And this one is about 14.8. So this is 1 millimeter more than that. That's 13.8, and that's 14.8, which is why I'm thinking that this would be okay, because I've used this in the solo mid, I've used this in the cricket, I've not used it in the duo mid, but the duo mid is basically the same. This is tried, this is tested in some pretty breezy weather. This is 100% okay. So 14.8 is 100% fine in the duo mid, solo mid, XL, cricket, which leads me to believe that the 13.8 would be as well, because I think that the difference is minimal. The only thing is, as you will notice, there is a size difference. My advice to anyone that is still listening is that you go for the XL and ask Ron to cut it down to the size that you require, and then get the extension added. And you may even, I don't know how it would work, you know, maybe even have it as well. This is 4 pieces, isn't it? But my advice, and I'm sure that this piece here could be moved up marginally, you know, I don't think cutting this to this size is remotely impossible, and that is my strong recommendation. The Omni pole, unless you're in a very, very sheltered spot, or you're happy to strap your walking pole against it, is okay, but I'm not going to recommend it personally. It's just too flexible, and I think too many people are just going to be uncomfortable with it. I'm okay strapping my walking pole on it, but even then, it's, you know, I'd rather just have a little bit more girth, to be honest. Girth is everything, I'm told. So my advice is to go for the XL, cut it down to the size of the solo mid, XL, cricket, and the duo mid. So I believe that they're about 140 centimeters high. So I would go about maybe like 140 centimeters. So if there's a lump, if there's a lump right in the middle, you know, you've taken that into consideration. So I'd probably go 140 and then have the extension, and then you can pump thrust. Which comedy was that in? I've done that joke before actually, but anyway, back to this. Yeah, so I would then have this cut to 140 with the extension, and then obviously when you're in camp, you can either have it down low if you want it lower, or there's a lump in the ground, or you can extend it a little bit, you know, to use it, you know, in camp. And obviously, if the extension is almost this much, you might get away using this in the solo mid, XL, duo mid, cricket, and maybe, I'm not sure, you know, maybe that would be, I think if this was cut correctly, I think you'd get away with that in all of the mids that Ron does, apart from maybe the super mid. I still think that in those bigger shelters, the girth is, I'd be wanting a trekking pole to hand personally. That's just my thoughts on it. I'm sure it's fine. I think the XL would be okay in those bigger shelters, because I know this is okay in the smaller shelters, but you are, you know, you are going up quite a little bit more. And, you know, given that, you know, even this tried and tested one wobbles, I would be cautious, let's say. No, there's no point in me just telling you, yeah, go and get it, and then it breaks. What's the point in that? This is what I like to use in the Super Mid and the Duo Mid XL. This is the first one that I got. This is a Ruta Lacura, so the same company as this one. What I will say, if you buy from Josh, Ruta Lacura at Yahoo or something like that, I can ping you. I've had to buy all this, you think. Ron's very, very, very nice. Thank you, Ron. But yeah, obviously other stuff I've had to get. But where am I going? Yeah, so this one I bought several years ago from Ruta Lacura, and they've changed the design from this type of thing here. So obviously I went for this height. So this Ruta Lacura has this extension here, and it extends, you know, an additional 8 inches or something like that. So, you know, this one extends quite a long way. So this is the Ruta Lacura fully extended here on this one I've had for a long time. Let's see. Oh, Ron! Oh, it came off the end. So Ron's got a very long one there. The only thing is, as I say, Ron's girth we said was 13.8, but on this one, this is the 710, but the girth on this Ruta Lacura is about 18. So you know, it's 4 millimeters more. So you're going from, you know, 14 almost to 18, and that's why I actually prefer this one. Now, what I will say, on the website with Ruta Lacura, they say that the 600 is okay for super mid type shelters. So when you look on the Ruta Lacura site, 600, they have it up here. But I just always had this feeling that it wouldn't be sturdy enough, you know, for that height, a la here. So when I bought this one from Josh several years ago, and I've been using this one for a while, I basically went a size up. So I think on his website, he is saying the Ruta Lacura 500 or 400 or whatever it is, which is probably quite skinny like these, is suitable for like the solo mid and the cricket and such like. But I was skeptical of that, so I went up a size to the 600. So I went a girth up but because he's thinking that people will be using them in sheltered positions, not in the UK where everything's exposed. So basically I had him custom cut it shorter. And then the same with this one. So this one he recommended for, so the 600 I think he recommended for like the super mid. So he's recommending on Ruta Lacura the 600 for the super mid, but I just felt that that wasn't enough, so I went up a size to the 710, which is this one, which is 18 millimeters. So I went to the 710, but again, because they're thinking that you're going to be using these in sheltered positions, this, if you buy it off the shelf, is like up here, and it's too big for the super mid and the duo mid XL, so it needs to be custom cut. So you do need to contact him. I bought this one a long time ago for the super mid, and it does work in the duo mid XL, but when I was on Dartmoor last trip, just the other month, where I was camping, I just felt like that spot was, I felt that it was a little bit too long, just a fraction too long, and I couldn't make it any shorter. I suppose in theory I could have taken that off. I suppose the other thing you could do is just dig a tiny hole, you know, an inch hole or something that you could put it in, and you know, you could do that and then just fill your hole in afterwards. You know, if you're into filling holes in. So you know, obviously I had that, but I must admit I wanted the 710 but a little bit shorter, and I was kind of curious to compare it to, you know, to Ron's Omnipole XL. Now obviously Ron's Omnipole XL is a little bit shorter than I had that cut to. Whoop. But it's also somewhat shorter than this here, so it should work. This Omnipole should work fine in the duo mid XL and the super mid, because I have had it cut shorter. And then with the new Ruta Lacura, you have this 8-inch piece here, so you can kind of extend it, you know, a little way, and then there's this screw, I think it's new this year, this design, like that. And that probably is better and safer than this pingy out thing here. How you extend this one is it's a bit like trekking poles. And it's got a twisty thing exactly like a trekking pole in it. It's pretty good. One I had on one of my trips in Scotland, it actually got stuck, and I was having to use it at that height, although I think I put a stone under it to help. So that was a little bit of a problem, but he replaced it, and ironically many months later it sorted itself out. So maybe if I'd have been able to give it a real grip and twist, it might have sorted itself out. So I think it was a one-off. So that's how you, and I've not had the slit. Once that's done up tight, then that's fine. I quite often use it at about that height though, and then maybe just extend it if the weather is really quite good. Like I said, I'll put the measurements and the weights, you know, as captions in the video. So like I said, personally, if you're using the Super Mid or the Duo Mid XL, whilst, you know, I am, you know, an MLD fanboy, there is a difference between 13.8 and virtually 18. I mean, you know, there is like 4mm difference. There's 4mm difference, and personally, you know, for our weather, I would be recommending the Ruta Lacura 710 for the Super Mids and Duo Mid XL, and I would be recommending the XL, the MLD XL Omni pole cut to size. I've asked Ron to cut it, or you can do it yourself. I don't think it's that difficult. Just cut it to size. And I do think that cut to size, I think that it will be okay, because whilst it's quite wobbly like that now, bearing in mind, he's selling again, bearing in mind that, you know, you ideally need to cut it down to there. So, you know, if you cut that much off that thinner stuff, then it's going to make it, because it's shorter, it's going to make it stronger. And like I said, I'm confident to recommend this for those shorter poles. For, I'm holding it, because, you know, there's only 1mm between these two, and this I've tried and tested in quite bad weather. So, you know, I feel confident to say XL, MLD XL pole, cut to size, cricket, Duo Mid and Solo Mid XL would be fine, but you will have to get it cut to size. Anyway, I think that's all that I can realistically say on, you know, on Ron's poles. comparing Ron's and Josh's poles. So yeah, I think that swiftly brings an end to this video here. Thanks very much for watching. 30 minutes. Can't believe there'll be a bit of editing in there, but 30 minutes talking about Ron's. I hope I hope Ron can go longer than 30 minutes playing with his pole. Don't behave. All right, that's it. Next video, we'll see you again. Thanks very much for watching, everybody.